Hello, my name is Ariel Grier from Gaston Spotlight. Today I'm with former Gaston College student and TEGNA employee Jay Burgin. How are you doing today, Jay?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Awesome. So, how long have you been with TEGNA?
I've been there 2 years. I started in August of 2022, so it's going on about 2 years now.
Awesome. What is TEGNA for people that do not know?
TEGNA owns television stations. We own 68 stations around the country. We own stations from NBC, Fox, CBS, and ABC. We just recently ran the Super Bowl from the CBS side, so it was. I actually came in the last few minutes, and it was very exciting. It's a very, very tense atmosphere, but it all went really well, and it was really fun. But it's a lot of stress that we go with, but it's also very challenging and very rewarding at times.
Very understandable, and it sounds amazing. How did you get started with TEGNA?
I was recruited out of the Gaston College broadcasting program. I started out here wanting to do audio, and then I did video, and then I did the sports program for a semester. And when TEGNA came to recruit at Gaston, Mrs. Carmody thought I'd be a great addition, and she was right, and I love it, and I've been enjoying it ever since.
That's wonderful to hear. What roles have you fulfilled at TEGNA?
My role is they call it a broadcast hub operator. So I make sure that all the stations run their local commercials on time. I run 6 ABC stations from around the country, 5 on the East Coast and 1 on the West Coast.
That's so impressive. What is something that you learned from the program here at Gaston College that prepared you for this job here at TEGNA?
I learned how to improvise well, especially working in the sports program. Whenever a camera broke or something went wrong, I learned to adapt and improvise. At work, if a station's transmitter tower goes offline, we have to see what's wrong. We have to call people. If something's missing, we have to improvise and put in a replacement show or a replacement commercial. And I really honed my skills at improvisation at Gaston through the broadcasting program, because starting at the sports program, we faced a lot of challenges, and it was really helpful to have that experience going to TEGNA.
That's a great answer. What would you describe the environment at TEGNA?
I describe the environment on my shift as 45% calm, and then 45% routine management, and about 5% intense emotions, because you never know when something's going to happen.
Right.
And we always have to be prepared. But I really enjoy it. I enjoy working with my crew overnight. I enjoy the people I work with. So it's a really fun workplace for me.
I'm glad that you find that fun, and it sounds like a fun place to work. Have you experienced any challenges with working along the way at TEGNA?
It was quite a learning curve for me. I came in totally blind. I didn't even know what my workspace looked like. And it was challenging. It was rough.
Yeah.
But I had a great support team. One of the things that they told me that I really appreciated was that every mistake I make, they had made the same mistake, and they learned from it.
Yeah. And
that was really helpful for me, because walking into that room, it's very overwhelming. There's a lot of lights, sounds, movement, and it was challenging in my first couple of weeks, but I got the hang of it, and I learned about it. I learned what to focus on where, and yeah, it was tough, but that was the biggest challenge, was going into it. But I had a great support team, and I knew that Mrs. Carmody believed in me, that she believed that I could do a good job. And I held on to that for my first week, because I doubted myself, but she believed I was good, and she was correct for every time I was at Gaston College. She was correct that she knew I'd be good at this, and if she believed in me, then I believed in myself.
I love that answer. Ms. Carmody is so great at getting people to realize their potential, and so I'm glad that you were able to bring that into your new job at TEGNA. I think that's wonderful. How did your experience at Gaston College impact what you do at TEGNA?
It really helped me improvisation, and it helped me to work with people I like to work independently usually, but working with Gaston, working with operating the camera, working the camera crew, and working with the baseball team, the softball team, the basketball team, on different people, it really helped me to improve my speaking skills, my communication skills. I really came out of my shell when I was at Gaston, and it really helped me to be able to speak clearly and concisely to my colleagues and to the stations I'm trying to speak with, especially when it's in a very tense situation.
Wonderful. Speaking of, what recommendations or advice would you give to someone interested in working at TEGNA?
I would say that it's a very rewarding job and it's a very challenging job. If you want a challenge, you can come to work at TEGNA because you will always be challenged day after day. I've been here 2 years and I still go through a lot of challenges. And you never know what's going to happen, and it's always a fun experience in the end when whatever you do, it turns out great. And that reflects on the viewers across the country. So it's a challenge, but it's rewarding in the end, always.
Absolutely. Can you run us through a typical day working at TEGNA?
Yes, so I arrive at work at 11 p.m. and I start my shift there. We first start out with Jimmy Kimmel Live on ABC. So during that show, I make sure that all of the local commercials run when they're supposed to. So when they go to break, I make sure everything is there and in order. After Jimmy Kimmel, we go to a show called Nightline, and I roll that live. And in that instance, I press on the computer, I press a button that rolls the local commercials on that time. Then we have an hour of standard programming. It can be a show called like Judge Judy or a sports show. And then we get into network news called ABC World News Now. And every 15 minutes, I roll one local commercial break. And through all this time, I'm looking at all my monitors and all my stations, and I'm making sure everything's on the air. There's no pixelation. There's no black on air. I make sure everything is running according to plan and smoothly. Once we get into world news, that goes from 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. And then at 4 a.m., I make sure that the next day's list is there according to plan. Our days go from 4 a.m. to 4 a.m. So I make sure that the next day everything is there, everything is there, the format is correct, everything's in there, and then we go into another network show called America This Morning. I roll one commercial break in there, and then we go into world and local news at 5 a.m. And I make sure that the local news is produced from the station. So let's say I'm looking at WZZM in Grand Rapids, Michigan. They film the show at their station, they send it to us, and then we send it out to the viewer with the local commercials attached. So I monitor them, make sure that they're on the air. Sometimes they will have a power outage, and I have to quickly roll the commercial break because no one wants to look at a black screen. Yeah. So I have to roll the commercial break, and that rarely happens, but I have to be aware of it. I can't be looking around, looking down on my computer. I have to be aware of it at all times. And so once we get through the local news, then at 7 a.m. I hand it off to my relief, and Good Morning America starts. And that's when I bow out for the day, and I go home. And the next day, I repeat the same process over again.
Wow, that sounds very challenging, but yet super rewarding. I love that you get to be involved with so many aspects of like television. That's really cool. I heard you played a unique role on the show, Gaston Spotlight, when you were a student here. Can you tell me more about that? And
I appointed myself the researcher of the show. I have developed a knack for finding sources on the internet and researching guests. And so that's something I really enjoy doing. I really enjoy looking up things. I enjoy finding ways to make things run smoothly and I've moved that into my work. I do a lot of very tedious stuff to make sure everything runs smoothly. So when I was at Gaston, if we had a guest coming from, let's say, Gaston College in a specific department, I looked up what that person does in the department. I looked at their LinkedIn to see where they went to school. I looked online to see if they had any other activities outside of Gaston, so that the interviewer would have all the information they would need to be able to conduct a thorough interview. So, and people think I'm crazy, but I really enjoyed researching. I really enjoyed.
Hey, researching is fun. I also enjoy that, especially when it's interesting to me.
Yeah, and I actually learned a lot of stuff during the research that I would have never learned. It opened my eyes to a lot of different career paths that I didn't think were possible. So.
Well, that's great. It's always good to take the initiative to move forward in that aspect of media. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jay. And thank you for watching Gaston Spotlight. I'm Ariel Grier, your host, signing off for today. Have a great one.